From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and Chief Digital Strategist at Stunning Digital Marketing. Today I have Todd Jones with me with his regular copywriting segment talking about his legacy story framework. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation that Todd and I had. The SDM Show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing concierge that helps you put all your marketing pieces together. We are your marketing experts. We are also your WordPress security experts and know how to lock down a website and protect yourself from bad actors. So contact us at Stunning Digital Marketing today. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And today I'm here with Mr. Todd Jones, and we're going to talk all about copywriting. Hey, Todd.
How you doing?
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's Friday at the time of this record. So today we thought we'd dive into your legacy story framework. So we all know in a copywriting space or any marketing space, storytelling is really important. Let's get real. People like your stories. They like your founder story. They like your about story, how you started, how you got into the business. I shared, I don't know if I shared a video. No, I haven't shared it, that I did yesterday. And it's the story about how I became involved in technology and stuff. I shared one a couple weeks ago about how I became a digital marketer and what was into that. So people like that kind of stuff. So what's the legacy story framework and why do you need it?
It sounds to me like you're doing the legacy story framework.
That's okay.
We talked about in the last episode the trust, and we talked about it before. Trust is going down.
Yeah, we certainly did.
All the reasons that storytelling matter. Trust and connection, those types of things. In fact, I'll actually allude back to something in the article that Dr. Jennifer Aker said going back to the first part of the article is about the story of Bar Camp in Little Rock.
Yep.
Chad Williams was one of the presenters, and he talked about a couple different things as examples of the impact of storytelling. But he referenced Jennifer Aker, Dr. Aker from Stanford. She said three elements, three things that make stories meaningful. Number one, they're memorable. So
Yep.
we remember, in fact, she's been known to say quite often stories are remembered 22 times more than facts alone. Number two, they are impactful. They forge emotional connections. They make an impact on people's life. And number three, they're personal. So stories usually feature a single protagonist, and people listening or hearing or reading the story usually identifies with somebody in the story. It's either the protagonist or one of the supporting actors or actresses or characters.
Or they resonate with something that was said in the story. So yeah. We all know this podcast. I share a story at the end who I dedicate the podcast to, and it's to a couple of people. Every month I get emails saying, I resonate with that story. I resonate with who you've dedicated your podcast to. So that's just a short form of it, but it's still telling a story, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so storytelling, it's probably if you take all the industries that are centered around storytelling and combine them together, I would imagine it's trillions of dollars generated from storytelling. But people in the business world tend to forget about storytelling, except your salespeople. Usually your salespeople are pretty good storytellers. They have to smoosh people, so they know how to tell a story. So
let me stop you there. You make a good point between sales and story. The reason salespeople tell stories and the reason we tell stories is to get on people's emotional side. No question. And what we're doing is we're using those emotions to get people to buy into you. And that's why salespeople use storytelling, to be fair.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think back to the movie that my late dad, loved so much called RV. You remember that movie?
I do.
It actually had Robin Williams as the lead actor, who is also has passed away since then. And he's a sales guy, and he's trying to continue to do what he's supposed to do and take his family on a trip at the same time. And he gets this RV. Anyway, at the end of the movie, he's trying to bring home something, and he uses a story.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like, well, okay. Now that's not always the same as your, person to person, you're quick to
No.
people like knocking on your door, that kind of stuff. And I think that's why that stuff don't work very well usually, because people are just presenting facts or information or whatever.
Yeah, they
But
want to hear
storytelling
they
is
want to hear why. So let me
yeah.
give you an example of one of my favorite stories. It's worth telling. We all know Rice Krispies, right? Kellogg.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that Kellogg's Rice Krispies were developed to feed to Dr. Kellogg's psychiatric patients to give them something to eat that was cheap in the morning before they did treatment for the day?
Did not know, but it makes sense.
But that's how Rice Krispies was founded. And that
Yeah.
comes from a shout out to Wonderly, who's one of the biggest podcast networks out there. They're owned by that Amazon company now, but they have a podcast called Business Wars. And what that podcast does, now they do some dramatization, reenactments, but it tells a story about how
Yep.
that business was born and what they went through in in 5 or 6 episodes to get to where they are today. It's
Yep.
storytelling at its finest. It's just a really good example.
Discover Channel does something similar with build America, the whatever built
Yeah.
food,
Yeah.
so I actually saw one about how corn chips came to be, including
Yeah.
Frito-Lays, and that was
I love that
fascinating to
kind of
me.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. And so they all do that on the shows, and sometimes you have to be careful because sometimes when you do a dramatization, it keeps you hooked better because they're really acting out the story, even
No
if it
question.
takes a little bit. Whenever it's just like it can be really boring. Documentaries can be very boring, so you have to be careful. I watch documentaries on Amazon Prime, usually the free side of music documentaries all the time. And I have watched one on Led Zeppelin. I've watched one on Bad Company, one on Prince. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, give me these stories. I love it. So, but anyway, a brand can tap into that.
Yeah, no question. I'll tell you one brand that did it recently was McDonald's. If anybody's read the book called The Founder,
Yep.
which is for those who don't know, it was the
Ray
McDonald's
Kroc.
brothers, Ray Kroc, and he wasn't the true founder, but he was the one
No,
that really founded the
the
enterprise.
process. Yeah, the process
And
part of
if
it. Yeah.
and by the way, folks, if you don't want to read the book, the
There's a
documentary's
movie.
on. Is it on
Yeah.
Prime or Netflix? It's on one or the other, and
Is there a
go watch it.
documentary? I mean, I know about the
Yeah,
movie, the Alex Keaton. No, what's
it's
the
the
guy's
movie.
name? Yeah, the movie is
Yeah,
really good.
yeah, go
Um,
watch it. But it's based on the book, and to
sure.
me, and I always think about stories in the marketing space. And before we go back, one of my favorite stories, and I've shared this with you, many people, is a book called Shoe Dog. Shoe Dog is the story that Phil Knight tells in his autobiography about how he founded Nike Corp, one of the most successful companies in the world. And he tells the story. So this is what stories, the point I'm making is stories attract, and you and I see them and read them every day.
Yeah, and yeah, anyway, there we could go on about stories and business all for a long time, but this
That's
is
another
the
show.
yeah. So when I went down, okay, I tell this story very succinctly in the article because I can't have a 4,400 word article, but
Yep.
I started with content writing. I actually started with building WordPress websites, and then I blogged some too in the early days of, I had a football blog, whatever. I went down the content marketing rabbit hole. I loved that. But quickly that was becoming commoditized for most people, and there's pennies for getting paid to do stuff. So I went to copywriting, and I learned about direct response and conversion copywriting and so forth. Everything changed. I mean, it's been a rapid change in the last 15 years, beyond everything has been. But that led me to, I'm hearing about brand storytelling. Every time I looked at something that was supposed to be brand storytelling, there really wasn't a whole lot of storytelling to it. It was really a brand narrative, which is okay. It's still storytelling. It's not really, but then I picked up Kendra Hall's book for some reason, Stories That Stick, and Karen Eber's book, The Perfect Story. And they both serve a similar but different purpose. And that's when I started diving into like storytelling, how you can use storytelling. And Kendra had some really great examples about, and she gives 4 things. Anyway, I kept developing this. And so what ended up happening, Rob, is we're at the intersection of brand storytelling, copywriting, and content marketing. So I like to say there's really a whole lot of benefits to this. And let me go through these benefits real quick before we dive into what they are.
How many are we talking? How many benefits?
There are 7 benefits or 6 benefits. There's probably more than that, but at least 6 that I identified. And there's 7 what I call story buckets. And so what you can, number one, you can start immediately. You don't have to wait 6 months for somebody to do some kind of big brand narrative, all that kind of stuff. You can start immediately. There's no waiting to start.
Yep.
Number 2, it drives all your content. It can drive all your content. It serves as the engine for both organic and paid content. Number 3, the format is flexible. You're not just doing, you can do whatever your audience needs. If it needs podcast, you can do podcast. If your audience needs written content, you can do written content, video, whatever. It's not locked into any particular format. Number 4, it builds connections. So all the stuff we just got through talking about creates emotional connections with your audience. Number 5, when you have a connected audience, they become loyal customers and super fans, assuming that you keep your customer experience together. And then number 6, it builds a flywheel effect. It compounds over time, building your brand for the future. So you can actually, I think with this, you can make something happen fairly quickly, not having to wait 6 months for something to be established. And you can also build long-term brand awareness. So I'm really happy about that. It's like, it's not performance marketing versus brand awareness. It's both at the same time. To me, that's what I think is really cool about it. Those are what I consider the benefits. So there are 7 story buckets. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
There are what I call 7 story buckets, and I get it's very heavily influenced by Kendra Hall, David Garfinkel, and there may be somebody else that I'm not thinking about at the moment, but heavily influenced by those people. Number 1 is the plot story. We've talked about this before in terms of origin story or founder story.
Yep. We have.
Think in terms of your signature story, whatever that is. But another story that a company can have is a pivot story. Heck, if it's your story bucket, you could have all 3. I do think an origin and founder story are very similar, depending on the type of company you're in. But anyway, these types of stories can be, and you actually said, you just got through saying that you talked recently about how you got into digital marketing, and what was the other one? Something else you did, but we did an origin story.
And I'm about to do another one about how I became a podcaster. So,
yes,
things like that.
Yes. So those are stories that, and all those go into that plot story bucket. So and by the way, this comes from the 6 Ps and with an additional 6P framework, which also is part of the Clarity Stack prompt. The 6 Ps are there as well. The 6 Ps is like your anchor here, and then there's one additional. The second one is the purpose story. This is where you put together your core, your why, your core values, your mission and vision, and and your promise. So your purpose and your promise, all those things kind of go into that bucket. And so, most people would say, well, what is your why? Well, this is, all those things make up your why. And I call these a bucket because it's not one story. It can be one story. You may start with one story in each bucket, but look at it as a bucket where you accumulate multiple stories that you can then share to your audience. The third one is what I call the product story. And this is simply the product or the service that you're offering. And you're building the bridge, or you're bridging the gap between the features and benefits. This is exactly what you're doing. So it's kind of like your story gap, if you will. We talked about story gap as well. You're using that story to help people. And so there's an example I give, and I get it straight from Kendra's book, but everybody remembers the Apple holiday commercial a few years ago where the teenager seemed to be glued to his phone while his family enjoyed the holidays. They had been sharing all these memories and so forth. And they're like, it's just another teenager who won't look up from his phone, blah, blah, blah. And on the day of truth, the day everybody's opening gifts, he gets up and goes to the TV and plugs. I don't know if it was an iPhone or iPad. It really doesn't make a difference, but he plugs it into the TV, and suddenly this video plays of all these memories they shared the previous days. And you get the idea, like, this is what this Apple product can do. It can help you preserve memories. And that is a great story, a great example of the sharing the product story. It may be done with a service too. So you may find, and some of this would be very similar to like a case study or a success story. Success stories could actually be in that bucket. But the ideal is that you're showing how the product or the service makes a difference in the lives of somebody.
Yeah.
That is the product story. The next bucket is the proof story. And this is all that stuff we talk about when we talk about social proof, which again, we've talked about on this podcast as well. Social proof, testimonials, reviews, some case studies, or customer success stories. And some of these will have overlap, right? Proof story and, kind of helps, but you're showing both your expertise and the proof that you actually have done something to transform someone's life. Again, it's a bucket. So you may have multiple stories that share that. And then it becomes like, what format do you want to use and where do you want to share it? And those are, so it's a major repurposing of that. And the next one is adjacent. The next one is adjacent to the proof story. It's called the publicity story. And so, all I'm saying here is, where have you been? Have you been publicly, like featured in an article, on a podcast, on TV, on radio, all these things, and it's really similar to what proof, right? Social proof. But
and let me stop. Let me stop you there for a sec too. Not only should you tell that story, if you've been featured in all these places, please, folks, take the time and build a page on your website and show that off. That's some of your best content. So show it every day to all day.
Yeah, and I'm behind on that myself, but absolutely, it builds trust and shows expertise, and it also it builds that line to somebody who might the bridge to somebody who might potentially use you, that, hey, this person has something that's valuable. Other people have publicized that. So the next story is the process story. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was going to say, and you're right. Keep showing it off. You have expertise. And one of the problem marketers have, and I'll tell you this all day to Sunday, is they market well, but they don't market themselves well. So make sure you market yourself too.
The cobbler doesn't, if kids don't have shoes, right?
Correct.
Yep. The next story bucket is the process story. And I get this from David Garfinkel in his book, The Persuasive Code. And he calls them explainer stories. And I think it's fantastic. So if you have a process that you use, you should build stories around that. You should tell
No
the story
question.
about how it came about, how you use it with a client, where you've seen successes with it, how you've had to adjust it over time to make it better. This is the bucket that, and it shows it goes back to expertise again, right? It falls into that pillar of expertise. It shows
Mhm.
people that you have an expertise, that you are worth working with because they see you have done the work to make it a better experience for them.
No
That's the
question.
process story. And the last story, I called the transformation story. Again, I get that idea from David Garfinkel, but it's about, can you show, and again, this is very similar to proof, right? And
Mhm.
publicity, but especially proof. Can you show the transformation that somebody made? My
Yeah.
business was sinking. I was overspending. I had all these problems. Rob came in and he helped me eliminate things I did not need, creating a more operational efficiency. And now, not only am I not spending that as much as I used to spend, I'm actually making money because I'm more efficient in how I handle customers, etc. That is a transformation
Mhm.
story. Again, it goes back, it's very similar to having a customer story. You may say, what's the difference? I don't know. There is a difference. But you just a reminder that you need to share those transformational stories. I am a fan of instead of case studies, customer success transformational stories instead, because
Mhm.
case studies get lost in numbers. That's what everybody does. And nobody remembers the numbers if they're not attached to a narrative.
That's
They
true.
just don't. So it's like, well, congratulations, you wrote a case study with all these numbers and it's boring. Nobody remembers it. And they don't remember how anybody was transformed. So
Mhm.
here's the thing when it comes to customer success stories, you can tell it as the brand, which is totally fine. Or when you have a customer willing, the customer can tell the story, and that's
Yep.
even more powerful. So you need to have, and all these are, I call them buckets, because you can have more than one story for all
Yep.
these things. Utilize them. It becomes stuff you can use for blog posts, stuff you can use
Mhm.
for various formats, stuff you can use on various channels
Mhm.
that you can share. Videos can become snippets, you know, that kind of thing. So um, is that's the essence of the legacy story framework. And like I said, some of these may overlap a little bit. That's totally fine. But the idea is that you're not try to hit all seven of them as much as you can and use them like a content engine. It
Yep.
just it just continues to run like a flywheel, and over time it builds compound interest. You do not have to wait 6 months for some marketing consultant to build your brand narrative on all this kind of stuff. Can you do that? Absolutely. You just don't have to wait till it's done to start, because many of these stories already exist. You already have them. It's just a matter of creating them, and I would recommend writing it down first if you have to.
Yep.
Here's even another tip I would say. Let's take your origin story. I want to do an origin story. Instead of worrying about writing it, which a lot of people will, open up your microphone and start recording yourself telling it
I do that a
unfiltered.
lot. And by the way,
Unfiltered.
little tip for you. If you're buying a lot, and let me find that. If you're doing that strategy quite a bit, you can jump on Amazon and you can buy these little, and this is going to look awkward for audio listeners, but oh well, we'll watch the video. You can buy these little lapel mics. They look like this.
Yep.
Comes with a kit of two.
Yep.
And then there's a little dongle which plugs into your charging port. You can see that.
Yep.
And then there's an adapter. This is USB-C, but if you have a lightning, you can adapt. These cost, honest to God, $20
Yep.
for this little kit. You sometimes get it on sale. The point I'm making is go buy yourself the kit, because then you can walk around, throw the lapel mic on, throw the phone in your pocket so you don't have to do this,
Yep.
And then just talk into the phone as you're walking. That's a great way to share stories, notes, thoughts, journals. I can keep going all day long and do it, and it'll make your workflow like 10 times easier. I do that quite a bit, actually.
The key is to be when you're doing it for storytelling, the key is to be unfiltered. You want to get everything out. It's a data dump. Same thing. It's a data dump. Now, when you go back and retell it and publicize it, you can do the editing part of it or have somebody to. And there are different ways to do that. I personally would probably drop the transcript and have one of the AI machines to kind of clean out the filter out the stuff that doesn't need to be there, and then consider rearranging the story to fit a certain format to some degree.
I would too. I would jump in and get AI to help me on that one as well.
Yeah,
100%.
It's a time saver, really, to be honest with you. So it's like, you can spend 10 hours doing it, or you can do it in 30 minutes, whatever,
So check that out.
Yeah.
Use Todd's framework. Going over to Copyright, get Todd to help you do the framework even better, right?
Yep.
And I hope that helps. Hey, Todd, thanks for sharing as always. Have yourself an amazing day, my friend.
You as well, sir.
Thank you. This podcast has been brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital marketing concierge to help the business owner put all his pieces together, whether it's email marketing, WordPress security, WordPress design and development, PPC, and more. Text Stunning Digital Marketing for all your digital marketing needs today. A very special thank you to Todd Jones for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.